pre-K programs going. And that news came out of yesterday's pre-K summit that took place right here in Memphis.
Congressman Cohen was among the local, state, and federal leaders in attendance. Good to have you. Why is this the most urgent issue we face as a community, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know that it is the most urgent issue, but in the long run, education and jobs is, and education jobs are tied to education.
That's my point.
In the long run, pre-K is very important to getting children a good start and learning in school. And this money was federal money. It was $7 million from Memphis and $7 million for national, and there'll be more money to come. It's part of a $70 million grant from the federal government to the state of Tennessee to be divided between Nashville and Memphis. So eventually, over 4 years, it'll be $35 million. This gives us the opportunity to have high-quality pre-K classrooms. It gave a lot of children pre-K for the first time and upgraded those classrooms. The state doesn't have the funding necessary. Yesterday, Mark White, State Representative Mark White, was honored for his work on this issue. I give him kudos for his work in the legislature, and Laura, who's a star, and she's heading up that crowd.
So for those who don't know, Congressman, some of the benefits of pre-K when it comes to academic standards, and at the same time, why do you think we have the struggles that we do here in Memphis-Shelby County, really kind of getting it implemented, pre-K at least?
Well, we've not had a very much help from the state with education like we should, because the state has an inelastic tax system and doesn't have the monies for the needs that really are existent in the community, and particularly in Memphis. And what the state's been doing, unfortunately, is when they find extra money, they've been putting it into reducing the hall income tax, which is a tax on unearned income that the wealthiest people pay, and there's a different way to do that. You could reduce the tax for low-income people who used it for their savings, but not the wealthy. And then they plan to eliminate the inheritance tax, which helps by far the wealthiest heirs in our state, rather than taking that money and giving it the way it should, to give children without an opportunity a chance to get a good start in school.
But here's why I say it is the most urgent.
Well, it is.
And I think that's why we need to say that, because every study shows that children in pre-K do better by third grade, and every study shows that if you're not reading, for instance, at third grade level, you have a far higher chance of dropping out, being in prison. So that's why I say we need to say it is the most urgent. Do we not?
It is the most urgent.
Well, we need more money.
You sold me. I'm sold.
We need more money.
Well, we do. And the first,
even beyond what you guys have done.
And just like Cato the Elder, all roads came back to Carthage must be defeated. The lottery provided $100 million for pre-K back in the Bredesen days, and that was money. And I put it in there that they could do that, and it was there. So I've been on pre-K for a long time, and on the pre-K consortium and caucus.
Obviously, another major issue facing many urban areas, especially the city of Memphis, gun violence. Homicide rate, 112 at last check. Congressman, where is this problem today? Where do we stand with it? What can be done, if anything?
We're going to have a little meeting in my office, and we've invited members of the public are welcome to come. We're going to have it in the jury room of the federal building at 1:30 this afternoon. And we've got representatives from the city mayor's office, from the police director's office, and the U.S. attorney's office. And we're going to discuss the issue. We had a sit-in last week in Congress to bring attention to the fact that we can't get just reasonable gun control programs saying that the public supports by like 90%. Better background checks on purchases over the internet and at gun shows. If you're on the no-fly list, no buy. If you can't be trusted to get on an airplane, if you think you're going to jeopardize 100 people or 200 people's lives, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun either. And eventually, we shouldn't really have high-capacity magazines. That's just to kill people.
But what do you think it's going to take to take this beyond just discussion? I mean, we have been discussing this in Congress. People are, blue in the face.
I know. In Congress, it's going to take the Republicans to give us a vote. We can't even get a vote. And it's the involvement with the NRA and their constituencies that are very pro-gun. I mean, gun comes before anything with a lot of those people. And I'm not against guns. I'm against high-capacity magazines. I'm against people that are on the no-fly list, people with mental health problems, getting guns, and having a better system. I think you ought to have a gun to defend your home, but you don't need an AR-15 to defend your home.
Some of the argument, though, is that it's a slippery slope. What do you say to that once we begin, it'll never end, and we will end up taking it?
Now, just the Supreme Court this past week said that people who have been convicted of spouse abuse can be legally restricted from getting guns. They are likely to use a gun against their spouse or against somebody else. People abuse seniors, pets, spouses, liable to use guns. No right is absolute. Go in the theater, Malco, fire. you're thrown out, you're arrested. No right's absolute. Second Amendment rights are not absolute. You don't have a right to a bazooka. You don't have a right to a nuke. The Second Amendment says the right to bear arms. And when they wrote, nobody was thinking about automatic weapons. They were thinking of muskets and having them at your home and one-shot pistols. This was not envisioned by the Constitution. There can be reasonable restraints. And in fact, the right to carry, which we have and which I passed a bill to do in the Tennessee General Assembly, is not what was envisioned by right to bear arms either. That's not something that's absolute. So there can be restrictions, and most people should understand that, but some people just... But anyway, we're going to have our meeting. You know what I thought about today when I saw that report of the shooting? The police, and I'm going to bring it up today, they need to do a study on all of the shootings this year and the shootings last year, but particularly this year, and come up with an analysis of what was the cause of the shooting, and let the public know, are the shootings because of domestic violence? Are they because of gang violence? Are they because of people with mental health problems? Is it crime? Is it while performing a robbery or a burglary or something? There should be an analysis, and the public should have an idea why are these gun crimes being committed, and why should we then be concerned, and how can we defend ourselves?
Have about a minute left here. Also talk to us, if you would, Congressman, about where we stand with terror. We heard and saw, unfortunately, what happened at the airport in Istanbul. ISIS is claiming responsibility, at least Turkish officials are saying so. What can we do to make our airports safer here in this country?
You know, we could make it safer, but anybody could drive up to the outside of the airport here or other places and come out with the AR-15 and commit mayhem. The sad thing in our country is that, and we've seen it, and it could happen, and people come in with a bomb. But we've got security, we've got TSA, we've got officers out there. We're going to have to face ISIS for a long time. They are determined to create a caliphate, to create a radical Islam society, and we've been winning the war. The Iraqis have been doing better. They took back, recently took back a city that they hadn't had for years, and Mosul's next.
So in your opinion, one or two things that we have to do a little better?
Well, I think our special forces have got to be given more resources to go in and attack ISIS in Syria and in Iraq, and the president's doing that. I think the drone program needs to continue, and we need to knock out their leadership, even though they replete their leadership with new members. I think that's an effective tactic. And I think the president has been quietly and effectively fighting the war on ISIS, which is not... It's not something, one of the TV ads I've seen says, I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to defeat ISIS. Looney Tunes.
Okay, I guess we will leave it at that.
Yeah.
Congressman